guys, just got woken up by a screaming reel. This feels like something very nice. We're gonna find out soon. Lots of head shakes. It's definitely a Kob. Solid weight behind it. So I got woken up at 4 AM. I heard one of the reels run, so I was in a rush to get out. And on my counter in the front of the boat, I store my GoPro, the light, and my glasses. Still asleep, I grabbed something and I ran outside because my priority was to get to the rod. Didn't even put my shoes on, my deck was wet. So when I came outside, the rod on the left-hand side of the boat was completely bent towards the left-hand side. That one there in that corner, and it was like this, so it was pointing this way. So I picked it up. The tide just turned maybe half an hour prior to that, and obviously I didn't know that, or I didn't register it. Felt something was on. I immediately felt the head shake, so that was very good news and a good confirmation that it was a Kob. I felt that it had a lot of weight to it, a lot of weight. It wasn't necessarily running excessively. I mean, I've had smaller fish that ran a hell of a lot more regularly, more consistently, but this was just running sort of average. It was nothing out of the ordinary. When I picked the rod up and I got my sensors together, I realized that I didn't grab my headlight. I grabbed the GoPro instead of the headlight as well. So luckily I got everything on film, but I had no light. So the footage is not the best. It's a little bit dark, but nonetheless I started filming. So the fish ran towards the front of the boat, towards the right hand side where the driver is, and that's where it spent quite a bit of time there. And then it ran some more after that, but it was hanging there, and then it ran, and it was quite far out towards the front of the boat. And then it started slowly making its way to the left, basically where the rod was. So it was there, ran that way, and then it went towards the front that way, and it was there in the front, and then it came this way. Spent some time here, then it went to the front, spent some time there, and then it came this side. Sand dunes were lying on this side of me. The fish hung around here for a bit, and then it swam towards the side, almost literally straight towards the side. Spent some time there, then it made its way here towards the side of the boat. I actually thought it was gonna get so close that I could land it. Well, just by the way it was, the way it was behaving, I thought it would be landable. And then it ran back the same direction again, not with such intensity, but it ran back. My V anchor was lying towards my right on this hand side, and the fish was on this side. And when it was making its way back, I could see it was a lot closer than what it was the first time. So I knew the anchors were going to be a problem. Once again, sorry for the lighting on the footage, it wasn't the best. And I then had to somehow find my headlight because I was not going to be able to see what's going on in front of the boat. And I had one hand with the rod, and my light was like 1.5 meters away from me, 2 meters away from me. So I actually sat down in the cabin, holding the rod like this, going in backwards, grabbing for the light. I got it on the second attempt. And then unfortunately when I put the light on, it made a bit of a glare on the lens for the GoPro footage, but it's still viewable. I then had to get on the roof. So I don't know how I did this. I have it on video, but I had the rod in one hand and I grabbed this wooden rail or the steel rail, and I hooked my toe into this little lip here, and I somehow got up, and I was on the nose. Had to take the rod through both anchor ropes. The suspicion was correct, so it basically swam over the anchor and then under it, and then the fish came to the right hand side of the boat. Kept me busy here for a bit. It hung and then it ran, and then it hung and then it ran. And the interesting part obviously is when it got close to the boat. When I saw the fish the first time, I didn't know it was that big. So it got to the boat here, and that's where the uncertainty set in, because I didn't have experience with landing a big fish like this, and I was by myself. So my first instinct was to use the net. I tried to grab it and it shook out of my hand, and my line actually tangled around the tip of the rod, and the fish still had some kick in it. So I was very lucky to still have it. So I pulled the rod forward because I couldn't figure out what the hell was going on. So I pulled the rod tip forward, and the line twisted around the front edge. I got the fish in the net. When it got to me, it was quite tired. When I tried to lift the net up, I obviously underestimated that. Tried to pick it up, and the mistake I made was I never put any weight in the hand, below my hand, in the net to support the net. And as I lifted it up, the fish broke a piece of the net and went straight through. So back in the water it goes. I obviously realized the net idea wasn't going to work, so I'm going to have to lift it over with my hands. And when I grabbed it the first time, it gave me a kick. I barely had a grip on it, and I just about lost the grip. I graced that I held my grip because I feel myself losing it. And then on the second, when I had more capacity, my hands and stuff, I grabbed it with my other hand and somehow I got the fish on deck. So very, very lucky to land it. I think it took about maybe 25 minutes to half an hour max to fight the fish, but then had it on deck. And then it was a rush against time for me to get this fish released. I prefer to release anything actually above 20 kilograms. So I obviously needed to get a measure. My measuring mat was only 1 meter long, so I had to go into my cabin and find one of the longer ones that I've kept from previous competition days that they hand out. Measured the fish. I wanted to take a picture. I took like 10 or 11 photos. Well, first of all, I thought that I'm going to use one of my lip grips and pick this fish up and just take my photos the same way that I always do, with the holder in the back. There was no way that was going to happen. So I think there were 2 failed attempts there. And yeah, it was just a constant rush. Like I was just rushing myself and causing myself trouble. How am I going to do this? How am I going to get a picture of this fish? I actually should have used the GoPro, but that didn't register with me. So I had a tripod here. I had to change the mountings to put my phone in and put the phone on the floor, take a few photos, or take a photo, which was my plan, but it took almost like 10 or 11 photos because I couldn't get the whole fish in, and the timer only gives me 10 seconds. So I didn't get the best photo of myself with the fish, but I got one. But the failed attempts, like, they were driving me crazy. I just couldn't get it right. I didn't have an exact plan about how I was going to get this fish back in the water, which is something I've figured out as I went. Maybe if I take it in backwards, that would be easier. So I took it in. My inexperience, I thought this fish was just going to swim away, so I didn't even have a rope or anything around it. I just wanted to get it in the water to see what it did, and it did nothing. So put a rope around its mouth, or actually through the mouth. I didn't want to make holes in it, so unfortunately I had to take it through the side of the gills, just make sure you don't damage the fish. The fish ran at 4. It went back into, I think I landed it around, I would say 4:40, 4:30. And it went back into the water, I would say maybe 10 to 5, quarter to 5. It wasn't on the deck for very long. So the revival took ages. In my inexperience, I've never revived a fish this big, so I didn't know. I actually had no idea what to do. So what I did was, I somehow reversed the fish back between the bait board and the motor, and I got it in the water. And then I just started taking it forward and back and making it swim, and little did I know that the fish must be kept upright for the swim bladder. There was a lot of instances where it showed potential to come back, and then it doesn't, and then it does, and then it doesn't. But I was dead set on letting this fish go. I was not going to give up until it literally stopped breathing, and I just kept going and going and going. So that started at about 10 to 5. At about 6, people started packing up and boats started coming past me. Luckily, there was people on the river that I knew. One of my friends came by, fishing maybe 200 meters from me. When they saw the fish, they thought it wasn't going to make it. So we came up with this plan that they would take it to the slipway because there was going to be more people there that can help. Because for me to go to the slipway, I had to pack all my stuff up and everything. So gave him a rope. He took the fish to the slipway. I packed my stuff up. When I got to the slipway, Emil was here. Thanks, Emil. Definitely the hero of that fish's survival. Emil was already busy reviving it, and I mean, Emil had to go to work, he had to take his boat out, so thanks again, Emil. But what he did differently was he just kept the fish upright, and when I got here I could see the fish was already in a hell of a lot better condition than when it was at the boat. And it didn't take that long. I think it maybe took like another half an hour of revival here by the slipway. And the three of us, the other guy was Rian, so it was me, Rian and Emil. We were in two minds whether this fish was going to swim away, and you know, we were constantly doubting. We gave it a shot, you know, we were very uncertain. We gave it a shot and it swam. And it didn't swim excessively strongly, but it swam good enough, and all three of us were satisfied with it. It swam towards the left of the jetty here. Then it ironically swam towards my boat, which was parked on the side. And then we saw the fins once or twice and off it went. So we were very certain that it swam away. I took a drive up and down the river here, didn't see it. I was so happy to see the fish swim away, and it was great to catch it, but it was better to see it swim away. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I learned a lot of lessons. Bring my girlfriend on the boat with me next time so she can help me. Don't try and net the fish without weight under the fish. And more importantly, the revival. The fish was 151 centimeters, so 37 kilos, and she was safely released.